Hello, I am Grin Grimsly, and welcome to the very first episode of my video game review show. This should be quite interesting, as I've never actually played video games before. This was, you see, supposed to be Grim's show until management gave him Sci-Fi Minecart instead, so I may be a little bit out of my depth here. I do, however, aim to approach it with optimism and an open mind. The machine I will be using to review these games is what management and Grim have assured me is the latest and greatest in video game technology, the Atari 2600.
Looking at the Atari 2600, I find myself feeling as if it's come straight from the future. Its sleek black plastic design and wood grain finish make it appear as if it was ripped straight out of the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. Along the top of the gaming machine we have 6 switches: power, which gives you the option of on and off; TV type, which gives you color and black but no option for plasma; 2 difficulty switches, which give you the options of A and B; a game select switch; and a reset switch. I'm not a metallurgist, but I believe the switches may be made of chrome, which is quite stylish and goes well with the wood grain finish. Plugged into the back of the gaming machine we have 2 controllers, both consisting of 1 pleasure stick and a red button. Along with the video game machine, management has also sent me my first game and manual. So without any further ado, what better way to start my video game review show than with what I'm told is the Atari 2600's release title, Halo 2600. Once you plug the cartridge into the gaming machine as if you were loading a rifle and hit the on switch, you are greeted by what is kind of like a DVD menu select screen. Quite a catchy tune plays, which I suppose is the game's theme song, and you have the words Halo 2600 on the screen, as well as a spinning ring in the background, which I suppose is the same one that appears on the cartridge and on the front of the manual. It's at this point that I realize that the title Halo, as well as the imagery of the Halo on the cartridge, the manual, and now the title screen may be a little bit more than a catchy title, so I consult the manual to find out more. My suspicions are confirmed as the manual tells me that the Halo is actually a giant weapon capable of destroying all life in the galaxy, and is actually the setting of this game. You've crash-landed on this Halo, and you now must defend it from a group of aliens known as the Covenant, who intend to use it to destroy all life in this galaxy. Which is an interesting decision, as the Covenant are probably also considered life in this galaxy. You play as the Master Chief in this game, apparently, who is a genetically enhanced super soldier and humanity's best hope. In the manual, all the pictures of him have him wearing a helmet, and aside from Master Chief, we don't hear his real name, so I'm going to assume his face looks like mine, and his name is Grin Grimsly. Lastly, the manual asks me, can I battle my way through the massive world that is Halo, defeat the Covenant, and save humanity? Let's find out, manual. Let's find out.
Well, hot dang.
The experience of playing this game is just incredible. Where you point your pleasure stick is where your little character on the screen goes. The level of immersion in this is just mind-boggling. It's as if I'm playing a movie. Grim can keep Sci-Fi Minecart, I have Sci-Fi real life. Eventually you can find a gun and actually pick it up. From this point on, clicking the red button will fire a shot. But perhaps I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's talk about the graphics and gameplay. You start off in a blue field with green trees around. It might seem a bit strange at first that the field is blue, but you have to remember that this is an artificial ring world, so the grass can really be whatever color whoever made the ring world wants it to be. Your walk cycle is a bit strange. It looks as if you're MC Hammer sliding everywhere. And the aliens' walk cycles, while a little bit better, still seems a bit unnatural. But aside from that, the graphics are gorgeous. Without using much imagination, you can tell that your little green character is the badass you see on the manual. It's just unfortunate that they also didn't include high-quality pictures of the Covenant in the manual, so you could also imagine what they look like. Speaking of the Covenant, the manual informs you that you can come across grunts, elites, brutes, and tart guns. In my experience, grunts are really the hardest to defeat because they are a smaller target, and tart guns don't seem to be defeatable. They just take as many bullets as you hit and continue firing back, so I just try to avoid them and run past them as quickly as I can. Aside from the turret guns and the final boss, all enemies can be defeated with one shot. You can also be killed with one shot unless you've picked up the shield, which is one of the 4 power-ups you can get in the game, which consist of the M60 pistol, the sniper rifle, the aforementioned shield, and the speed boots, which become real handy later as each screen you progress through makes the enemies fire faster and move faster, so you really need those boots to be able to keep on top of them. A negative of the game is some of the cheap deaths you encounter. If you touch the walls, even in the bluegrass area, you die. The manual warns you to beware of alien technology as it can be fatal to touch, and I suppose, being artificial, the entire ring world is technically alien technology, but this means that even touching the bluegrass should kill you, and if touching the bluegrass doesn't kill you, and touching the trees doesn't kill you, then surely you can touch the walls. However, this is not too much of a negative, because after you've touched the walls once and found out that you shouldn't touch the walls, you really don't do it a second time. Another negative you encounter with this game is the elites guarding the sniper rifle and the speed boots, because they come in groups of 3. This would be fine, and it's quite intimidating when you first see it, but when you kill one of the 3, the other 2 of the 3 die as well. It's just stupid, and kind of reminds me of when you used to make those little paper people chains, when you folded up paper, cut out a figurine, and then unfolded the paper and they were all joining hands. Well, that's what this intimidating force reminds me of. Scary stuff. The other negative in the game is, once again, something that appears intimidating at first, but then you find out very quickly it isn't. This is when you encounter the large versions of the bad guys. They are exactly the same as the small versions, they're just bigger. And at first when you see them, you go, oh no, giant grunt. But then you realize it's just a regular grunt with the same firepower as a smaller grunt and just more area to hit them. These, however, are very small negatives in an otherwise fantastic game. The actual difficulty curve is very fair, and as you get further and further in, as I mentioned earlier, the enemies move and fire faster. There seem to be more of them, the screens fill with more bullets, and by the time you reach the enemy boss, who is quite hard to defeat and takes, I think, 3 shots to defeat, your heart is already pounding. Once, or perhaps if you beat the game, you have the option of replaying it in the legendary mode. You can tell you've reached this because the background of the halo ring in the start menu turns red. The manual describes legendary mode as having an increased difficulty level, but as far as I can tell it just makes your character move painfully slowly, so I really couldn't be bothered playing it. Regardless of that, the game is quite fantastic. The only real improvement I could think of making to it is maybe a score system, so you get points every time you kill an enemy, or possibly even a countdown timer, so you get points depending on how quickly you finish the game. But it's not really required. The game's still great without it. So there you have it. While I do understand that as this is the first and only game I've ever played, my review probably doesn't have much sway, I did enjoy it. So on that experience alone, I do suggest you go down to your local video store and pick up a copy of Halo on the 2600.